Yo, what's up everyone? If you're new here, my name is Lincoln Stark, and in this video, we are going to talk about why Robert Pattinson's Batman should not be part of James Gunn's DCU. So where did this debate come from? Well, it came earlier this month, or depending on when you guys are watching it. It came out when the new Superman movie, starring David Corenswet, came out, and it started off a whole new universe for DC, James Gunn's DCU. And with that out of the way, Superman being arguably one of the pillars of the DC community, people have been asking the question, who will play Batman in it? Like, that's been a question that's been going on for years, ever since James Gunn has announced that he will be taking over DC Studios. And rightfully so, because Batman is a very big character, and you want to see him be done justice in live action. But a new debate that has resurfaced is, should Robert Pattinson be the new Batman for the DC universe? And this came from in 2022 when DC were still doing their really shitty DCEU as taken over by Zack Snyder. They really couldn't have found anybody more incompetent, and it was doing poorly financially. And then in 2022, they decided to do an Elseworld project, which was completely disconnected from their other projects, their other universe. It's something completely separate. I think the term Elseworld will be used throughout this video, so keep an eye out for that. And, it was the first, non-flop for DC in 3 years. They had, a shit ton of flops throughout, but then the Batman did very well financially and critically. And many people, including myself, consider it to be the best live-action Batman iteration to date. So, if we have that Batman, Matt Reeves had a very specific vision for his iteration of Batman. And then there was the Penguin TV series, which, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't fucking watched it because I'm in the UK and there's no place to watch it here in the UK, but I've heard it has really good reviews, and I can definitely see why. Colin Farrell did such a good job as Oswald Cobblepot, or as Matt Reeves decided to rename, Oz Cobb, in the Batman. I could definitely see him doing really well, carrying that over into his own series. And Matt Reeves is a genius. He's one of my favourite directors. He did Planet of the Apes really well, and he did the Batman really well. I really do fuck with the style. And yeah, from that you could tell that people really do fuck with this iteration of Batman and Gotham and Penguin. So yeah, you have an established Batman universe. Keyword being established. Matt Reeves has a very clear, distinctive vision on what he wants his Batman universe to look like. James Gunn, on the other hand, he's establishing his universe. However, it's not establishing it in the sense that he's introducing the new characters as if through origin stories, because obviously the DCU is coming at a time when superhero fatigue among the general audience is a very big epidemic at this point in time. And I think, and what many people consider to be a contributing factor of this epidemic is the fact of the oversaturation of origin stories. Like we saw Blue Beetle, Shang-Chi, so many origin stories in this last decade, and then people just don't want to see them anymore. And because you've got a character like Superman, then you can just establish him. I'm sure everybody knows the story of an alien baby coming down to Earth and becoming a superhero. Who doesn't know that? What do you have? You have two different iterations of the characters. You have Batman and you have Superman. You have them already there. You may as well combine them. No, you shouldn't. Because, as I mentioned, Matt Reeves has a very distinctive vision. His vision is going to be completely grounded, completely realistic. He's taking what Christopher Nolan did with the Dark Knight trilogy and multiplying it by 10. It is completely realistic. It's obviously leading more to the detective, gritty nature from it. And I think part of the reason why is because Ben Affleck, who played the original Batman, was signed on to write and direct his own incarnation of Batman in a movie. And we know that Ben Affleck has cited the movie Seven as one of his favourite movies of all time. Great taste, is one of my favourites too. And yeah, really leading into that crime thriller side. You can also see that, I'm going to go off on a bit of tangent here. You can see the Seven influence in his movie The Town, which he started and directed. It also has John Hamm, Blake Lively, and Jeremy Renner. So that's one of my favourite movies. You can check that out, and you can definitely see that Batman 7 influence. I feel like that's why Matt Reeves tried to lean into it, but he did try and give it any supernatural elements. He doubled down on the realism. This is shit you could see in our world. the keyword being realism. Superman and James Gunn's DCU will be none of that. It's going full comic book mode. It's going all in with the supernatural elements. There's going to be monsters, aliens, gods. There's going to be every unrealistic thing under the sun. James Gunn's like, you name it, I'm including it. Like, yeah, they're two very distinctive. And then if we introduce this incarnation of Batman into an already very supernatural world, you'll feel some like very noticeable tonal whiplash.
Rushing or dragging?
Not that kind of whiplash. But yeah, it will almost diminish Matt Reeves' vision, shall we say. As on the fact that this was never the idea to have Matt Reeves' Batman kick off a whole DC universe. Its idea was it's going to be a standalone thing. So if they force this, it will feel rushed. It will feel messy, shall we say. And it's easier to introduce a whole new Batman into that world. And then another thing is the limitations that Matt Reeves' Batman faces with it going all in on the realism is it can't introduce some of his tropes or his rogues gallery, for example, his white eyes or his long cape or some of his villains with superpowers. The next point, kind of like counter to that, is would audiences get confused with two different iterations of Batman on the big screen? Yes and no. Like, I remember when David Cornsweet was announced to be playing Superman, some people were confused. They were like, isn't Henry Cavill still playing Superman? Like, they got, like, yeah, I get that. But, like, those who don't keep up with, like, the DC news and lore and all that kind of shit, they will get confused. But the diehard fans will not get confused. Like, say if James Gunn introduces Batman the Brave and the Bold before the Batman Part 2, then they'll be like, oh yeah, there's a new Batman. Some may get confused with there being a new Robert Pattinson, but then they'll be like, huh, that's a completely different tone. It's all supernatural and shit like that. As opposed to like, and also assume James Gunn is going to want to give him like the grey and blue suit and all that kind of stuff and all the stuff that Matt Reeves won't give him. And Matt Reeves will come out with his Batman maybe a year or two later and they'll be like, wait, that's a sequel to Robert Pattinson's one. I mean, sure, they might be like, where is that DCU one? But then they'll notice a difference with the actors, the tones, the everything. They'll be like, huh, they're two separate projects, they're two separate things. They might get a bit confused, but they'll come around eventually. I can almost guarantee that. The next thing is they feel forced. I do think it will feel forced if we introduce Robert Pattinson's Batman straight into the DCU. But some people liken it to Daredevil being introduced in the MCU. What a fucking stupid comparison. Here's the thing. Daredevil was never forced into the MCU. He was always part of it. Like, if you watch the original series, he talks about references to the MCU. He talks about the Battle in New York, referencing other heroes, and all that kind of stuff. It feels like it's integrated part of the MCU, just in like a different corner. I mean, and then Daredevil Born Again, which was explicitly referenced in the MCU. It takes place after the blip in Avengers Endgame. You can tell it is part of the MCU. It's obvious as fuck. But, yeah. And then, if they're like, oh, well, it's realistic. No, it isn't! It's not realistic! Daredevil literally has a girlfriend that comes back from the dead. He fights off and teams up with supernatural characters. For example, Iron Fist, who's very much supernatural. And then he exists in a world where dead people come back to life. There's like magic, there's technology, there's all that kind of stuff. How is any of that realistic? It's not. And thus, they are not on equal grounds. So yeah, that is why I believe that Matt Reeves' Batman should not be part of James Gunn's DCU. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. So if you enjoyed the video, if you did, leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesome videos. Goodbye.